Hi, today we're going to talk about fractional operations. We're going to talk about addition, subtraction, and multiplication of fractions. You need to make sure you either have this glued in your notes now, or when you're finished writing out your notes, you glue this into your math notebook with your other notes. You need to have everything written down. So if you need to pause the video, please do that so you can make sure you have everything. All right, fraction. A fraction is a number that represents part of a whole. So you're going to put a number that, oh my goodness. Represents part of a whole. You're probably going to have to write pretty small and neatly so you can read this. Improper fraction is a fraction that represents a number larger than 1. Represents a number larger than 1. So the numerator is larger than the denominator. The top number is bigger. A mixed number is a whole number and a fraction together. So like 1 and 1/2, you would have the whole number 1 and the fraction half. An equivalent fraction is a fraction that is equal in value. So they are example would be 1/2 is equal to 3/6. They are equivalent fractions. Simplify means to take the fraction to the simplest form. Changing that to take it to the most simple form. Okay, so that would be, if you had 3/6, the simplest form is going to be 1/2. That's as small as I can go. The LCD is the least common multiple of the denominators. We usually call this the common denominator. It doesn't have to be the smallest or the least common. It could be any number that they both go into. So here's an example. So first we're going to have our fraction, or our problem is 4/6 plus 6/10, and we need a common denominator to add fractions. And right now we have a 6 and a 10. So one way they're saying you could do this is you could find the multiples of 6 until you got a number that 10 also goes into. Now I'm listing the multiples of 10, and you see that I have 30 on both. So I could put 30 as my common denominator, and to get from 4/6 to have a 30 on the bottom, I have to take this times 5/5, and I would get 20/30ths. I have to do the same to 6/10, only I'm taking it times 3/3 because I want the denominator to be 30. So now that I have my common denominators, I'm going to rewrite the problem. That is step 3. Step 4 is answer it. So 20 plus 18 is 38 over 30. The bottom step, or my last step, is to simplify this. So 30 goes into 38 one time. I have 8 left over. I can simplify 8/30ths by dividing the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. And my answer in simplest form would be 1 and 14/5. Subtraction, you do the same way, except you're subtracting. So our problem is 11/15 minus 2/5. I know that 5 goes into 15, so my bottom number here is 15. I'm going to leave it the same. But I'm going to change my 2/5 by multiplying it times 3 over 3, so my denominator can be the same. If I do something to the bottom to turn it to 15, I have to do the same thing to the top. So now my problem is 11/15 minus 6/15, which if I solve that, I get 5/15. 3 goes into 5 and 3 goes into 15, so I could divide this by 3 over 3, and I would end up with, or sorry, I am dividing by 5 over 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So my final answer would be 1/3. Multiplication, in my opinion, is actually easier than addition and subtraction. If I multiply, you just multiply across. So I'm going to write that over here as a note. I'm just going to multiply across top, then bottom. Okay, so my problem or example is 6/8 times 3/4. I am going to multiply 6 times 3 and get 18. 8 times 4 and get 32. I can simplify 18/32 by dividing the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, and I would get 9/16 as my answer. One thing you want to remember, so we're going to put a little note over here, is that if you are multiplying a whole number by a fraction, the whole number always has a denominator of 1. So if it is a whole number, times a fraction, the whole number goes over 1. Example would be 5 divided by 1/2. You would do, or sorry, we are not dividing yet. If I have 5 times 1/2, I would do 5 over 1 times 1 over 2, and it would equal 5/2, which you could then simplify. All right, the last operation we're going to talk about is division. Division of fractions has a little bit more that you need to remember. It's more of a process, but in the end, it's just really multiplying. So division means dividing or sharing into equal groups. Division is the opposite of multiplication. The reciprocal is when you flip a fraction, the numerator goes to the bottom and the denominator to the top. So flip a fraction. We find the reciprocal of the fraction in division. So example would be, you have 1/3. The reciprocal would be 3/1. So over here, if I'm doing the reciprocal, this would be 3/1. And the reciprocal of 4/5 is 5/4. So we use that when we do division. And here is a tip that I'm sure you've learned before, but just to keep it fresh in your brain for division, we are going to keep, change, flip. This is the operation. This is the only time you use this. So keep, change, flip. So if my problem is 3/4 divided by 1/2, I will keep this first number. I will change the sign to multiplication, and I will flip to 2/1. So when I rewrite my problem, it's going to look like this. 3/4 times 2/1, which is the same as 6/4. And I can reduce 6/4 to 4 goes into 6 one time. I have 2 left over, so that goes over my denominator. And I can reduce that again because 2/4 is the same as 1/2. All right, you are now going to have some practice problems with these. Please do your best. Show all of your work to get credit. And use your notes if you need to.